Just having a great night.
Check, 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 check. Okay, that's working.
Just having a great night. Oh, audio,
what the
video
fuck?
coming through on TikTok.
Okay, that's good. Default device. It's weird. Sound check. Here we go. Check, 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 check. All right, you say something?
Hello.
All right, it's good. I don't know what it was talking about. Friggin' liars. All right, let's get going. I'm going to start now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 11th episode of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Richie. Richie, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Same old, same old. Just glad that I didn't tear my ACL or dislocate my ankle like so many other people did this week.
I'm still, or choke on ibuprofen. I'm still feeling the
choke.
I'm still feeling the effects of that. Ugh. It was terrible. It was the worst. Maybe it'll. Hopefully the headache goes away at least. There's that. We'll
it's not going to help.
It didn't help. That
usually does not help headaches. Yes.
So far, every time I cough, my head rattles and it feels fantastic. So there is that. All right, dude. Let's do that thing we always do to start off the show.
Yeah, let's dive on into our top five. So last week we did our top five biggest fantasy football disappointments of the season. So I figured today we'd show some love, do our top five biggest fantasy football joys of the season. I'll start us off with a guy who unfortunately the season just ended, but Chris Godwin. I only had him in one league, but he was wide receiver 2, and he was being a beast. So yeah, I was enjoying his run. Terrible to see him dislocate his ankle, miss the rest of the year. He's going to be a free agent next year, so who knows what happens there. But yeah, shame it had to end because he was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I've drafted him the last 2 years and really didn't get a lot out of him. At least I didn't feel like I got enough out of him in those 2 years. So I didn't draft him at all this year, and this is the year he's was doing better than he ever had, I feel like. And that just sucks for him. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, he was going crazy. Both him and Mike Evans, both of them were in the top 5. 2 of them from the Bucks, both in the top 5 for touchdowns scored. It was crazy. So, my number 5 is Josh Jacobs, who I know isn't like he used to go top 10 fantasy drafts all the time as a Raider even, and the moving to the Green Bay Packers. Anytime you move to a new team, you never know what you're going to get out of a running back, right? Josh Jacobs is good, but I wasn't totally sure on what I was getting, which also a lot of people weren't, which is why his draft placement dropped so much. But I'm super happy picking up Josh Jacobs, and he's right there with my number 1, so it worked out really well.
Yeah, he's been having a good year, especially with when Jordan Love missed. They rode him pretty well, and I think they're going to continue to ride him because he's looking good in Green Bay. I'm sticking with running backs. I'm going with Alvin Kamara. He had a bad game last week, but for the season, he's been hot. He's a little older, so hopefully he can last the full season. The Saints have gotten worse since they started the first 2 weeks, where they scored 90 points in 2 weeks, like something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But he still performed well. So hopefully last week was just a little blip, and he gets back to putting up 15, 20 points a game.
When I go back to not paying attention to them at all, like I am now after watching them on Thursday, they'll probably be fine. Anyone I put my attention on always seems to start just sucking. You know,
You're just a jinx.
I am not good luck for teams. That is for sure. My number 4 is a guy that I took in the 3rd round of our all-rookie dynasty draft as my second third rounder, just my bonus pick, and that's Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought if I'm going to get a rookie running back, I might as well take the one that's going to be behind a unproven starting running back like Rachaad White, which turned out to be a good pick because Bucky Irving is slowly and methodically taking over that job and doing very well with it. And so I feel like I got a steal with Bucky Irving.
Yeah, he's taking that job. You know, Sean Tucker's getting involved a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't last because Bucky Irving looks like he should just be the guy.
Well, it's crazy because they had all 3 running backs available last week, and Bucky Irving still 8. So I can deal with that, especially as like my 4th running back right now.
Nice.
So
my number 3 is DK Metcalf. They got the new offense in Seattle with the guy from Washington. I don't remember his name right now, but airing out well. Geno Smith's playing better than he did last year. And DK was having a pretty good season. Hurt himself on Sunday, but I haven't seen anything about it, so hopefully he doesn't miss any time.
Hopefully. DK's been doing really good. And they don't, like, as much as... God, who's the older guy they have? Suddenly I'm blanking. The guy who does not refuses to take hits anymore.
Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Lockett. You got DK Metcalf and Lockett, and then a bunch of people that get catches one week and don't the next, like Bobo and others. So that would be really nice. Well, Smith and Njoku as well. Not Smith and Njoku. And Jigba.
JSN. Make it easy.
Crazy with those 3 very good receivers that they have. DK's still managing to get as good as stats he is, especially with the emergence. Jeez, I'm still choking on that ibuprofen. Especially with the emergence of Smith and Jigba this year, who's going crazy too. So that's nice. Even when they're not winning. And it's funny, kind of side tangent. Did you see the Seattle last week? Suddenly they're back to being Super Bowl contenders.
No.
Like,
they're so up and down.
It's crazy. But anyways.
Who you got at 3?
3, I have Baker Mayfield, who in almost every league I was in, he was available in like the 8th, 9th round as my backup quarterback, who has absolutely taken over as the starting quarterback almost without fail over whoever I took in the first as my first quarterback. It's just crazy that Baker's able to be this good, MVP caliber, and benching. For example, this week, I'm benching Patrick Mahomes. I'm tired of his terrible fantasy scores, and I'm putting in Baker. I don't care that his top 2 wide receivers have gone down. I'm still putting in Baker over Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Mahomes he's not performing as everybody, expected, but he also has that ability to just throw down 30 points in a game out of nowhere. So that's a tough bench.
Well, the problem is he leads the league in interceptions. And so no matter how many he's throwing, with the fumbles and interceptions, you're still not getting points. So it sucks. And I debated last year on not keeping Mahomes. He was going to be out. In this league that I've been in for like 5 years, I've always kept Mahomes as a second rounder. And I'm at this point, I was like, after last year where he didn't have great stats either, I'm like, I don't know if he's worth a keeper anymore. But I kept him anyway. And keeping him this season with what I've gotten out of him, I wish I hadn't kept him. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I know, that's the crappy thing when it comes to, like, everybody drafted him so high, I just have I don't know if I could bench him. That takes guts.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say it wouldn't normally take guts, but since his top two receivers are now out, that's where the guts come in.
So, wait, you're benching Mahomes for Baker? Baker lost his top two receivers.
That's what I'm talking about.
So he lost his top two receivers, and you're going to start him over Mahomes?
Yep. Mahomes has his receivers. He still isn't doing anything.
Well, he's lost Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown and Juju. I don't know. I was just trying to follow your logic there. But I mean, Baker's been having a hell of a year, and I like Jalen McMillan, so I still think Baker's going to play well.
And they have Josh Palmer, right?
Yeah. Trey Palmer, I think.
Trey Palmer, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's tough to bench a guy like Mahomes. I'm more akin to, it's like Andrews. I just left him in my lineup when he was putting up zeros, and now he seems to be back to normal. So
I'm 6-8, so I got to do something.
Got to shake it up.
I can keep riding the Mahomes train and keep losing, or try something different. I can always go back to him, So we'll see what happens.
We'll see how that works out for you this week. My number two is also a Chief. I'm going with Kareem Hunt. I picked him up as soon as the Chiefs re-signed him because I just knew the narrative of guy gets released for off-the-field issues, comes back years later. It's like a Cinderella story, Disney ending type thing where now he's going to have a great year. And so far he's been performing very well. So glad I picked him up, especially with all the issues at running back I've had with guys like Zamir White and Travis Etienne. So.
Yeah, he even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back, it's interesting how well he's been doing, and he's the guy, even with the Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But that Clyde Edwards-Helaire just kind of fell off, quickly.
I think he had some off the field issues, like personal issues. So,
did he?
Yeah, I think that's why he's been out.
Well, supposedly he's back, but I don't think he's taken over the starting job.
I don't know if he's played yet. I don't know if he's officially back, but he will. They'll mix him in. But Carson Steele disappeared. But yeah, I'm happy for Kareem Hunt. I'm glad to see him getting a second chance in Kansas City.
Speaking of second chances, that's my number two as well. And he started the season but he started the season in a crowded backfield, and that's J.K. Dobbins. You had J.K. Dobbins was signed. Jim Harbaugh decided to take John Harbaugh's old halfbacks. He got Gus Johnson and J.K. Dobbins. They drafted Kamani Vidal on the Chargers. So you didn't really know who was going to be the main guy. But I've had J.K. Dobbins in our Dynasty League for years, just living on the IR. But I've never dropped him because I knew he was a good halfback. And I was really hoping that one day he'd land on his feet. And here we are with the Chargers, and he's landed on his feet, and J.K. Dobbins is actually having a very good season. He's had a few rough weeks lately, but like with all halfbacks, especially RB2s, 3s, he's doing very well, and I'm very happy to see J.K. Dobbins still in the mix, still doing well at week 8 in the season.
Yeah, he's still chugging along. I hope he keeps going. I mean, I've got Vital in a bunch of leagues because he's shown some flashes for them now that Edwards is on IR. But I'm still rooting that Dobbins stays healthy. It'd be nice to see him play a full season for once.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
My number one is personal. I only have him in one league, but it's just awesome to see somebody on one of my favorite teams, as a RB1, and that's Brian Robinson. He's dealing with a knee injury right now, which sucks because he's not getting a lot of yards, but dude just scores touchdowns. They get in the red zone, give him the ball, and he just powers right through. I love he's a bruising type of running back, which is my favorite type of running back. Yeah, I just love seeing it.
He's fun to watch, and B, I just remember him being a rookie and the story behind how he started on the Redskins. And it's funny because you hear everybody talk about Pearsall. Pearsall was shot, 8 weeks ago, and now he's starting for the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm like, I've heard this story before, actually.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson, the same thing happened to him. So,
yeah. It's pretty crazy how a couple years later another rookie gets shot before the season starts.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely nuts. But I'm really happy. I like Brian Robinson a lot. He's very good, very fun to watch. So.
Oh, heck yeah.
My number one is a guy that I've trashed for the first 2 seasons of this podcast. Maybe not as much as Mitchell Trubisky, but that is Sam Darnold. And I could not be happier with how well he is doing, considering my quarterback situation in the Dynasty League.
It was a mess.
I currently have J.J. McCarthy on the IR. I have Tua on the IR. I have Matthew Stafford, who has not been playing well, at least stat-wise, for fantasy. And I had Deshaun Watson before I outright dropped him a couple weeks ago. So, seeing Darnold sitting on the free agent list with Daniel Jones and Tyler Huntley and, the myriad of bottom-of-the-league quarterbacks, after the first week of the season when he had massive stats, I picked him up. I didn't start him week 2, but after week 2, week 3, he's been mainstay my quarterback for my Dynasty League, and I have the best record in the Dynasty. So I would say Darnold is my biggest surprise and probably the guy that saved my Dynasty fantasy season. So I'm very happy with what Darnold's doing.
And it's good for him. I mean, he was a joke coming out of New York, and he's really turned his career around. So, that's awesome to see. Sucks for the Lions because it's happening in their division, but they did just beat them, so that's good. But yeah, it's that's pretty awesome to see. Crazy that some of the top scoring quarterbacks this year are like Darnold and Baker.
I love it. And then the league leading interceptions. The guy that leads the league in interceptions is Patrick Mahomes. It's just the world has turned upside down, and I love it.
It is pretty awesome to see. All right.
Let's finish up catching up on these questions that we have, if you haven't yet.
Well, I've been answering them in chat, actually. So
I saw that. I just want to make sure if there were any you wanted to say out loud now.
So
actually, let's just give it a second. We'll give like a few minutes for people to ask questions, and we can answer them now. That way they can hear them live. We're actually talking to them.
All right. Well, Darren just sent in, just traded Winston, Wandale, Jordan Mason, and Kmet for Devontae Smith and McBride. Did I win? Yeah, I mean, the only big name that sticks out to me is Jordan Mason. I mean, Kmet's had some good games. As long as you had running backs to spare and didn't need Mason, I think that's a good win. I like Trey. Devonta Smith's better than Wandale, and Winston, even though he's starting, he's not startable. He's just a body. So, yeah, I like that, Darren.
And one thing that I'd like to throw out for people asking questions in chat just to think about. We don't know from your questions which side you got. So if in your questions you can ask or at least point out which side you were on the trade, that really helps us out because we might think it's great for your opponent and then not for you and not know that. So if you can say which side yours was, that's perfect.
Yeah, Darren worded it perfectly saying just traded those players. So I appreciate that.
Good job, Darren.
Will Henderson, rate my 10-man PPR. Burrow, Kamara, Kyron, Tyreek, Jefferson, Adams, McBride. That's crazy. I give that an A- just because Devontae Adams, I don't know what you're going to get out of him in your flex or third wide receiver.
But and Tyreek's been questionable since.
Well, Tua's back, though. Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a second?
So that'll help. Hold on. Kirk or Geno? I gotta look at.
Wait, you got it in the news, so we'll talk about it there.
Let's see. Vikings at Rams. He's not on the Vikings anymore. I thought Kirk at Vikings. Bucks.
Falcons play the Bucks. They're at the Bucks.
I'd go with Kirk. Bucks secondary is terrible. Andrew, JT or James Cook for the rest of the year? Oof. I like James Cook if you can get Ray Davis too, but if Jonathan Taylor's healthy, I prefer him. Pollard or Addison to start? Probably Pollard.
And a flex? See, that's tough because, yeah, I don't know.
The Titans are terrible. Oh, they're playing the Lions, though. I'd go Addison. They're not going to be. The Titans aren't going to be able to run the ball.
I'll say all you're counting on with Pollard versus the Lions is catches and yards.
Yeah,
Lions
I'd go Addison.
One of the best rushing defenses in the NFL.
The Vikings play on Thursday against the Rams. Yeah, that should be an easy one. Bigsby, JSN, or McMillan for flex this week. Honestly, I like McMillan because he's basically the number one this week in Tampa Bay.
And he's been catching all kinds of balls even when Godwin and Evans were there. I think you're on to something.
Yeah. It's gutsy because he hasn't had a huge game yet, but I'd probably play McMillan. I'd roll the dice with McMillan. Either him or JSN. Also, Drake May. I like Drake May. He's been playing well, and he's got the Jets this week. Yeah, I'd be comfortable starting Drake May against the Jets. Their defense is not as scary as it's supposed to be. Yeah.
And they're at home. I like
Trade away Evans for Waddle or Devontae Smith. I would rather have Devontae Smith, just because if Tua gets hurt again, Waddle goes back to being useless.
Yep.
Start to Olave, Zay, Wicks, MHJ.
Sit MHJ. Don't play MHJ till he has a game. Like that's
Zay
I have
sure.
him. That's where I'm at with Harrison.
I'm the opposite. I think there's so much pissing and moaning coming out of Cardinals about not using him that he's going to be the focal point this week. I definitely start Zay, and then my vote is MHJ. So.
No, they say that every single week for him. Not going to happen.
So who else would you start then? Olave or Wicks?
Olave or Wicks? I'd take Wicks.
Okay. So there you go. But we both agree on Zay Flowers.
Yeah, Flowers is awesome.
Trade JSN for Chuba. No, because Brooks is going to come back. Chuba Hubbard's going to lose his job. Keep JSN. Dowdle for Bigsby and Kirk. Yeah.
Are you getting Bigsby and Kirk? Because that's like a steal.
Yeah.
That's a massive trade.
Cup or Amari flex? Cup. You know they're going to throw to Cup like crazy.
Yep.
All right, we're all caught up.
Let's do it. All right, just so everybody knows, we're going to do our news section, and then after that, we'll answer more questions again. So keep them coming, but stay, and we'll answer your questions when we get done with the news.
All right, so big news, obviously, is all the injuries this week. Chris Godwin is out for the season. Brandon Ayuk is out for the season. Deshaun Watson is out for the season.
Okay.
I think those are the biggest out for the season ones.
Before we continue on just they're out for the season, it's disgusting the way Cleveland fans reacted to his injury. I don't care who he is off the field. He is still a human being who is now hurt, laying on the floor, not knowing what's going on with him, and everyone's cheering as he got injured. Like, what? Do you think maybe this is karma for why you're so bad? That this is the kind of fans you are? That you cheer someone with a season-ending injury? That's terrible.
I can understand their sentiment about not wanting him to be playing quarterback anymore, but you don't want to cheer somebody getting hurt.
Exactly.
Like, you can just, be happy about it, but keep it to yourself. So, yeah, but, I mean, Cleveland, they get their wish. He's not their quarterback anymore. Jameis Winston looks like he's probably going to start because DTR also got hurt in that game. They also signed Bailey Zappi. So, I know before the season started, New England thought they could trade him for something, and instead he gets signed for nothing.
By the way, if you have Chubb or no one's picked him up, do it. because he is about to spend the rest of the season being the focal point of that offense.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cedric Tillman had a big day. I liked him in college and coming out last year, so I'm curious to see how he like played the Amari Cooper role as like the number one receiver almost over Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if Winston. I mean, well, DTR. Most of that was coming from DTR, so I like Tillman. And then yeah, Chubb shouldn't be a free agent, but if he is, definitely go get him. Mike Evans out at least 3 weeks, so the Bucs without their top two receivers. So yeah, Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer. I thought there was the third one whose name I'm blanking on right now. But then they've got all those running backs too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think Baker should be okay. He's having a good year. I think he'll elevate the receivers. For Vegas,
I was gonna say he's good enough to elevate the players around him, and I feel like Jalen McMillan is a good enough receiver that he can find a way to get Cade Otton. Stocks just went up, so if you're looking for a tight end, Cade Otton is going to get a lot more passes than the 8 to 9 targets he was already getting. So yeah, I think they'll be all right in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they should be okay. I mean, it's tough losing a guy like Godwin and Evans, but Evans will be back, so they just gotta make it through the next 3 weeks. But McMillan, even when Evans comes back, I think McMillan will still be usable. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders out 4 to 6 weeks, so Gardner Minshew's back to starting. Fun yo-yo game they're playing in Vegas.
It's always the best when your season involves playing a quarterback, benching him, and then having to play him again. That's always a good sign that your season is on the right track.
As a Commanders fan, that was most of our seasons over the last 20 years was just, all right, who's starting this week? Because it's just like a game of musical chairs.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of the Commanders, Jaden Daniels day-to-day with a rib injury. I'd be willing to bet that he does not play on Sunday. I think they're going to give him a week to rest. Mariota looked good.
I'll say with how Marcus Mariota played after he got hurt, that shouldn't alarm Commanders fans too much.
The funny thing was Mariota was 0 for 4 and looked terrible on his first 4 throws, and then it was like he shook the rust off and played great the rest of the game, which is good to see. It also does create the argument of, well, maybe Jaden Daniels is just a system quarterback, to which I say, I don't care. The system wins games. Good.
If the system is winning, who cares?
I could care less, but yeah, which sucks. I'm flying out to DC to go to the Bears-Commanders game on Sunday, and I was hoping to see, number 1 versus number 2. Now it'll be number 1 versus number 2 from 8 years ago, but that's fine. Tua returned to practice. Looks like he's going to play. Puka Nacua returned to practice. Not going to play this week, I don't believe, but they opened up his 21-day return window, so he should be back in the next couple of weeks.
So
Cooper
talking
Kupp
about
will
Tua,
play.
Talking about Tua, did you see the interview where he was kind of like acting like wearing a Guardian cap was ridiculous, and that's he would never be seen doing that?
Yes, I saw that.
I'm like, dude. First off, half the people you asked thought you should have retired.
Yeah.
And then you're acting like the Guardian cap is the end of the world if you have to wear it. The thing is built to help you with head injuries. You're prone to them. You've had a bunch of them. Your entire life is on the line, and you're like, I don't want to look goofy. I don't understand this guy. Like, I understand him wanting to play, like, because obviously he acted like, I mean, he literally said in his interview, he talked about dying on the field. And it's like, okay, so football is this guy's life. He feels like he was put on the earth to do football. If he doesn't have that, he doesn't know what direction he has in life. Okay, got it. Why aren't you doing everything you can to protect yourself?
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to me. And I'm like, if I have to watch you laying on the field a 4th time with your fingers curled and your body convulsing, and it could have been prevented even just a little bit by a Guardian cap, I'm going to be upset. Like, dude, come on. I'm worried for you. But it's your choice, obviously, but it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, to not want to wear it because of a cosmetic thing is pretty stupid. I mean, it's for protection, especially for a guy like that is so prone to concussions. Like, they should get him a bigger Guardian cap and force him to wear it. But yeah, it's irresponsible of him, honestly. It's his choice, but it's irresponsible.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it was kind of upsetting to hear him say the way he was talking in that interview.
Yeah. It's that mentality of like, oh, I've got to be tough. It's like, no, you got to be smart. I
am not like other people. I will fully admit this because I know this over long periods of time and my thinking compared to other people's. But I don't care if you're wearing a Guardian cap. Honestly, I think it's better. Like, there's no downside. Like, I don't think you look stupid. When I see people actually wearing the Guardian cap, I'm like, oh, look, there's a smart guy. Like,
yeah.
Like back in the day.
Well, it's only a matter of time before they're
the guys that would wear the it's not a horse collar, but the thing that went around the neck, right? For all those defensive players that would get neck injuries, started wearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was different because everyone thought it was cool, but
there was like a back brace that stuck out of their back and like over their helmet so that like if they hit the ground, their head doesn't bounce off the turf or anything.
No.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before they make Guardians cap required anyways, but
here's
his
why
choice,
I don't
and I hope he stays healthy.
And I'll tell you, here's why I don't believe that. And this is my thoughts on all of the NFL and their front-facing belief and talk about safety. They always talk about safety. If you look at the 22 people on the field and how many of them actually have their chin straps strapped on their helmets, the thing that's supposed to protect their head, 50% of them do not have their helmet on correctly. And nothing happens about it. It doesn't matter. You're not even wearing the one thing that's required to protect your head correctly. I don't think that they will force anything because they can't even enforce wearing your helmet correctly. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe
give it 10 years.
I don't believe the NFL when they talk about safety the way they do because they don't enforce even the most basic things to make sure that their players are safe. But I've thought that forever because you should not be making a tackle and your helmet flies off. Unless when your helmet's laying on the ground, I see that both chin straps are still strapped. Then it came off because it was too loose. It doesn't, but it happens all the time. All the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Cooper Kupp play Thursday, and then Jameson Williams suspended 2 games for PES. Actually, not Ds. It was performance-enhancing supplements, which I guess are different.
I only put this on here because it just drives me crazy. Like, 3 seasons, Jameson Williams has been a Lion, and every season he's had missed games. His first season, he was injured in college. Understandable. Second season, 6 games for gambling. He didn't understand the rules correctly. Okay, I'll give you a pass on that. I want to know what this was that got him popped for this to get a 2-game suspension because it's so obnoxious. I thought this was a season he would play every game, and now here we are with a 2-game suspension for JMO.
Yeah, especially when he's playing so well. And I don't know what the difference between the drugs and the supplements are, but I remember they specifically said supplements, and that's like, okay, what is that? It's like, I don't know, but
what are the details, please?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just, dumb mistakes, and hopefully he comes back and continues to play as well as he had.
The only bright spot that I'm looking at this is I really hope that Tim Patrick has a crazy game this week.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Because the Tim Patrick story from this season is one of my favorite ones. Dude is playing very well. Like, grabbed like the week before this regular season started, and he's been one of our top guys behind Jamo and Amon-Ra. So I'm not worried for the next two games because I feel like both him, Khalif Raymond, who had a crazy game last week, and Tim Patrick are going to fill in for that spot perfectly. But you're not going to see, I don't feel like you're going to see the top taken off the ball this next 2 weeks because nobody is that fast. And so it's going to be a completely different version of the offense when you're running Jamo versus Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond. So, and then the other thing is, maybe, I thought it was amazing. I was super stoked when Tim Patrick caught his first pass as a Lion. Allen Robinson might actually get some playing time. Maybe he gets his first catch as a Lion because he's on the active squad, so he just has not seen the field.
Well, we shall see. All right, so let's dive into our Week 7 review, starting with our Week 7.
We got questions.
Well, nobody's in the chat anymore, so I'm not going to answer the questions.
I don't believe those numbers. They're never right. There could be 15
all right, well, if anybody's in there,
there,
post a question now.
It's famous between every streaming service. It'll tell you that this many people are here, and there'll be like 20 people. It's not. I don't believe these numbers.
Well, no one's posting a question, so.
Well, all right then. Just keep moving then.
So Week 7, start with our Thursday night foreplay, which was bad because the game was bad. Broncos Saints turned into a shootout. I didn't get a single leg of my parlay.
Before we continue with this, just like I said,
Abe G.
Abe doesn't show as he's here in the chat on my screen on the live center. Abe is here.
On TikTok. So
he was here waiting for an answer. That's why I said what I said. We got you, Abe.
Giving a Cook for Amari. That's a good one, Abe. Gosh, I do think Amari Cooper, I like him in Buffalo. So you gave up Cook for Amari. I think it's a good trade. Cook's been split time with Ray Davis. So yeah, I'd rather have Amari. You have Montgomery, Hall, Hunt, and yeah, you didn't need Cook anyways. Yeah, and you lost Godwin. Yeah, I think that's a good trade, Abe. Definitely.
Abraham Sanchez was the last person to ask a question. He's been here a long time watching. So, Bigsby and Christian Kirk for Dowdle, good trade. I feel like we answered this question earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we said if you're the one getting Christian Kirk and Bigsby, you're getting a steal. If you're getting Dowdle, you're getting hosed.
Yeah, agree.
I'm not a huge fan of having the wide receiver and the running back from the same team in my starting lineup. But in this case, unless his name is CeeDee Lamb or what's his first name? Ferguson. It's tight end.
Jake Ferguson.
Unless it's CeeDee Lamb or Jake Ferguson, I would not touch a Cowboy. So
yeah. Agreed.
We'll do one more, then we can move on. But CD and James Cook for Akane and Neighbors.
No.
If you're the one getting CD and Cook, I would say that's good for you. If you're getting Akane and Neighbors, I don't think that's good for you.
Yeah, I'd rather have CD and Cook.
There we go. All right, now we can go. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, so Thursday night foreplay from Week 7. You hit one leg, and I hit 0 legs. So not a good game for us.
Is that the worst parlay week combined for the two of us? We were 1 for 8.
Where we both missed everything.
Has there? Okay. Well, I don't remember
Yeah,
it because
I think
this feels
so.
like one of the worst.
Oh, it definitely is. But I feel like especially like the first season we did this, I feel like there were times where we were both shooting for the sky and both missed like everything. But yeah, that's pretty bad. But it was a bad
Definitely
game.
the worst of this season. So there's that.
Yes. It was an ugly game. So this Thursday is Vikings Rams. Should be less ugly because at least it's two entertaining teams. So I'm going with Kyron Williams anytime touchdown, which is basically a gimme at this point. Aaron Jones,
9 games
50
in a row
plus
he
rushing
scored a
yards.
touchdown.
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Aaron Jones, 50 plus rushing yards. Justin Jefferson, 70 plus receiving yards, and then just going Vikings money line for an easy plus 412, so I could use my no sweat bet.
Why did I say Josh Jacobs? Did I just write the wrong name?
Did you mean, I don't know who you meant, Justin Jefferson?
No, let me go check. Aaron
All right.
Jones is who I meant. I wrote Josh Jacobs. I meant Aaron Jones. All right, so I want to talk about something that I saw on the internet, and everything on the internet is true. But I actually looked into it, and it is very interesting over the last 2 seasons how true this is. It's called the Detroit Lions hangover. Have you heard about this?
No.
Most teams, the week after they play the Lions, lay an egg.
Huh.
Seattle.
What's the record?
I don't know record-wise, but think of it.
Oh, okay.
Think of like the Rams played the Lions and lost. The next week, the Cardinals beat them 41-10. The Lions beat Seattle. The next week was that game they had, 6 points? Dallas has not played since the Lions played them, so we'll see how they play after playing the Lions this week. And now you've got Minnesota playing after the Lions. It'll be interesting to see who wins this game. I don't know if I can pick the Rams over the Vikings based on that, but man, as a Lions fan, you have to be superstitious, and I always have been, just because so many weird things happen. If you don't know what the Bobby Lane curse is, look that up. So, but as far as my Thursday night foreplay, I picked Kyron Williams touchdown because, of course, all that guy does is find the end zone.
Oh yeah.
And then I found an interesting thing on Caesars where I feel like this is a lot more plausible and is very helpful if one team gets really down in a game, and that's receptions plus receiving yards plus rushing yards. Really helps those running backs when, they're down and they're throwing. So I put Kyron Williams 90 plus yards receiving and rushing, Aaron Jones 90 yards rushing and receiving, and then I have this is the one that might kill me, but if he doesn't play, it's an easy win. I have T.J. Hawkinson under 24.5 yards receiving.
Yeah, I'm surprised they have that on there with his status still in
Questionable.
question.
I'm like, we're at the point of the week where we should know whether he's playing or not. Not to mention he's been injured this long. Are you going to throw him in on a Thursday game? I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go under on Hawkinson's yards and see where that gets me.
Yeah, it's a good bet. They don't now. If he doesn't play at all, they don't void that, right? They would just count it as he didn't get 24.5 yards. So,
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they might. I think it might just be. Good question.
Either way, they would just turn into a 3-leg parlay.
Yeah, I think even if he plays, I think he might still get under 24.5 yards. Because I
can see that, yeah.
The other tight ends that they've had that have been getting yards, they'll probably still go with them. So, see what happens. I know they don't want him to get hurt again, so they're going to be super careful with him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So.
All right, well, we shall see tomorrow night.
Yep.
So now to our Week 7 review. Broncos beat the Saints. We talked about that. Turned into a blowout for the Broncos. Just an ugly, boring game.
Oh, yeah, that
Patriots,
Thursday night game was absolutely terrible. I did not enjoy a thing about it.
Patriots, Jags. Patriots had a 10-0 lead, then completely fell apart. Jaguars get the win. Packers, Texans. CJ Stroud threw for 86 yards, which is just insane. Very disappointed with how Stroud looked in that game.
10 for 21. Less than 50% completion.
Yeah, that was terrible. I was very unhappy because I like CJ Stroud and I hate the Packers, so really hoping he'd get the win there. Dolphins, Colts.
I'll say Dobbs, since Dobbs has come back, he's had 2 really good games after that suspension.
Yeah, he's clearly the number 2 behind Jalen Reed.
What's crazy because I watch in the leagues I'm in, so many people just dropped him outright, and that's an easy pickup. Like, he's good.
Because everybody loves Christian Watson for what he did 3 years ago in like 2 games, and then Dontavian Wicks does get involved. They have a lot of options there. Colts get the win over the Dolphins, mostly because the Dolphins are terrible. I don't think Anthony Richardson played any that well, but they get the win, so good for them. Seahawks beat up on the Falcons. The Seahawks are just a completely different team week to week. They'll lose to the Giants, and then they'll beat up on a team.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, very frustrating. Bills blew out the Titans. No surprise there. Lions get a good win over the Vikings. Close game, score-wise, but I watched this game, and it really wasn't that close. Lions were clearly the better team.
It was close for one quarter. A quarter in which the Lions looked like absolute ass. Thankfully, that was the first quarter, and then they decided that the other quarters were going to be theirs. So, because after that, I was screaming and yelling at the TV nonstop that entire first quarter. Like, it was so bad. The fact that they turned this around, this is what an indication of what this team is compared to all the years I've watched the Lions. Any other year, any other coach, the Lions do that bad in the first quarter, they would have got blown out in that game. But somehow after, it was 10-0 after the first quarter, looking like they were completely shut out and done and did not show up for this game, and then they absolutely destroyed the rest of the game. It was a great game.
No.
Great game for 3 quarters. I would love
the
to
first
forget
quarter.
that first quarter. I do not understand.
To me, that fake punt was really the only reason the Vikings scored. So it's like, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the Vikings. I thought the Lions, they looked shaky in the first quarter, but they still looked like the more dominant team the entire time. I mean, you're talking a turnover here, the fake punt. Like, the only reason it was close on the scoreboard is because Minnesota kept getting breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was a fun game to watch, and I remember texting you, we have to watch the Jets tonight when this game existed.
Yeah. I know. The scheduling is ridiculous. Eagles, Giants. Eagles got a win, but didn't do it in very dominating fashion, which I find curious. I keep expecting the Eagles to blow out teams, but they're not the same Eagles they were 2 years ago. So.
Well, the Barkley revenge game was fantastic. And pathetic, the Giants fans booing Barkley. Like,
they should be booing their GM.
I was like, do you not realize that your GM is the problem, not Barkley?
No.
Why would he stay for nothing? Why would he stay to make no money? That's stupid. He left because they didn't want to pay him. Like, they gave his money to Daniel Jones. You can thank Daniel Jones and your GM. It's not Barkley's fault. And like Barkley said, I don't have anything against anyone on the team. He's like, all those guys are my friends. But I'm out here to play football, and I did that, and I had a good game. So.
Yep, absolutely. Bengals, Browns. Bengals get a win. Again, not in very dominating fashion. A little concern there.
Not in dominating fashion against a team that did not have Amari Cooper. And Deshaun Watson got hurt in the middle of the game, and they were playing with 3 different quarterbacks in that game.
Yeah. And their defense is still terrible. So,
yeah.
2 teams, Eagles and Bengals, that give me a little pause about how good they truly are. Panthers, Commanders. Jaden Daniels got hurt. Luckily, Mariota carved up the worst team in the league. It's good to see.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Raiders, Rams. Rams get a win over the second worst team in the league. So, good for them. I don't know much to say about that game. Chiefs, 49ers. God. The Chiefs win, and they're 6-0, and it's the ugliest 6-0 I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry. The Chiefs, we talked about Mahomes earlier. It's like they're 6-0, but I don't consider them the best team in the AFC. I still think Baltimore's better. The Chiefs are just getting.
I heard that all week on Sports Talk.
I don't know, man. When I watch the Chiefs, it's like, you're winning. Good. Like, congratulations. But and they probably will win the Super Bowl too, because that's just how life works. And
the referees work.
Yeah.
Because basically, how do you get pass interference on a run play?
And the 49ers, like, having no Christian McCaffrey, and then Ayuk goes out. Debo played like 1 snap. It's like you won, but you didn't really win. Like, you just got lucky. Jets, Steelers. Even Devontae Adams can't save the Jets, so now Aaron Rodgers has nothing left to complain about. I think the last thing I saw is he said that the team's not playing like they're having fun. It's like, no shit, dude. You beat the fun out of them.
Yeah. My favorite part is Devontae Adams losing to the Steelers 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, that's... Granted, he didn't play the first week, but still pretty funny. And then Russ came out and played. Looked good. Good for him. That
looked like a decent move.
Just find ways to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the right move. Ravens, Bucks. Game ended up being close, but the Ravens really dominated this game throughout.
I stopped watching this.
Evans went down.
I stopped watching this to watch the Cardinals game when it was like 28-7 or something.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, I looked at the box score. I'm like, 31-41. What did I miss? Obviously, I missed a Chris Godwin injury. Obviously, I missed Evans getting hurt, but Baker Mayfield somehow doing Baker Mayfield things. So
yeah, Evans went out like the first quarter, which is a shame. And then Godwin with 43 seconds left in the game, which just sucks.
Did you see the announcement from the Buccaneers after the game that was like, it's believed to be a sprained ankle? And I'm like, his leg was sideways. What do you mean sprained ankle?
Yeah.
We all saw what it was. He is done.
That's why I give credit to I think it was the 49ers, where they were just like, in the post game, they're like, yeah, it's his ACL. Like, it's obviously he's hurt. It's like his knee went sideways for Ayuk. So credit to them, but yeah, just be honest. Like, what? Who cares if it comes out the next day? Like, just be straight up. Be like, yeah, his ankle's fucked. Like,
his leg was sideways, so we know he's probably not playing again.
We'll see him in July. And then Cardinals, Chargers. Cardinals get a win. This was a boring game, honestly. The Chargers could not score a touchdown. Like,
the only thing exciting about this game was watching James Conner run.
He ran like a beast.
And
he ran like a beast.
Chargers had 5 field goals.
If they hadn't fumbled the ball at the 2-yard line and gotten a touchback, they would have won the game. Like, literally one play different. It was the Cardinals win, but watching Marvin Harrison run completely wide open constantly and Kyler Murray not being able to see him because he can't see over the offensive line, that's not a Harrison problem. That's a Kyler problem.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do anything with Kyler. But until they get rid of him, they're never going to be a competitive team. All right, so let's dive into our Week 8 preview. So picks for last week, you went 12-4, I went 13-3. 2 weeks in a row, we've been very hot with picks. Early on in the season, there were some surprising results, but it seems like the last 2 weeks have been pretty expected. So let's dive in for this week, starting with tomorrow's game.
Before we do that, usually this is the part where we would say who has buys. There are no buys in Week 8.
There are no buys in Week 8. Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yep.
But like 2 weeks ago, there were 4 people on buys.
And there's some weeks where there's 6 teams on bye.
It's what? Confusing.
Well, the last weekend in October is the NFL's special weekend, so they have to load up the games. I'm kidding. I have no idea. It's just the NFL does some stupid shit. Honestly, they should just have weeks 8 and 9. Half the league in Week 8, half the league in Week 9. Just whatever, But whatever. Yeah. So Vikings Rams tomorrow night. Vikings by 3. Who you got?
I'm gonna take the Vikings, though I won't be surprised if the Lions hangover happens to them.
That'll be an interesting one to watch if the Rams can pull off an upset. I wish you would go back and look at the record for that because I'm curious to see how often it's happened.
How often?
Yeah. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings too. Even though the Rams are getting Cooper Kupp back, I still like Minnesota more. Cardinals at Dolphins. Dolphins by 3.5. The funny thing was when I wrote these last night, the Cardinals were favored by 3. And then the word was that 2 is starting, so the line has switched completely.
Yeah, that'll happen. Cardinals won last week, but that doesn't mean much to me. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins.
Going with the Dolphins. Yeah, so am I. I'm not impressed by the Cardinals, and if Tua plays, which it looks like he's going to, I think he's going to shred them.
Yep.
Jets at Patriots. Jets by 7.
Based on what?
Name
7
value.
Points?
7.
What is
I
this?
double checked today too. It's still 7.
That is insane. The Jets suck. They're terrible. At least the Patriots play everybody hard and tough. Oh man, I'm gonna go with the Patriots.
All right, Patriots. Yeah, man, can Drake May get the win at home? That is a tough one because the Jets have so much talent, but they don't play like it.
Yeah, I got to go off what I've seen, and their offense is absolutely garbage.
I'm going to go with the Jets, though. I'm going to go with the Jets. One be different from you and hope I can steal one. Eagles at Bengals. Bengals by 1.5.
I want to pick the Bengals, but I feel like the Bengals are still not playing good. You beat a very bad Browns team by 5 points based on 3 quarterbacks. I think I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, actually. It's funny. We were just talking about these two are 2 good teams, but they haven't done anything impressive this year. But I give the Eagles the nod because I like their defense and Saquon Barkley more than I like the Bengals defense or Chase Brown. So I'm going with the Eagles. Packers at Jags. Packers by 4.5.
I don't want them to win, but I will take the Packers.
Yeah, I never want the Packers to win. But yeah, I'm going with the Packers too. If the Texans could beat them, I don't see the Jags beating them.
No. And the Jags aren't in London anymore, so.
Yeah, true. They're back home in their second home of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Florida, Tampa Bay. Florida. Falcons at Tampa Bay.
So
Falcons by
Tampa
2.5.
Is in Florida.
Yes. Florida is traveling to Florida. Falcons favored by 2.5.
I have to think that's because of the wide receiver injuries. I'm going to pick the Falcons, even Though I think the Buccaneers are going to be fine. Usually
the
what I
Falcons
think
beat
is
the
wrong,
Bucks.
so...
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Bucks could win, but I just go back to the Falcons beat them earlier this season with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So now they don't have them. I think the Falcons should still win, but
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I'm going with the Falcons too. Ravens at Browns. Ravens by
just
9.5. Just
write
go
it
ahead
in.
and just say it out loud for posterity.
Ravens 9.5. Like that's crazy.
I thought that should be higher, but yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. Good luck, Jameis Winston, in your first game as a starter. Colts at Texans. Texans by 5.5.
I've seen the way Anthony Richardson's been playing, and I have to take the Texans. Even though Stroud had a bad game last week, I will still take the Texans.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking the Texans. Stroud had a bad game, but it was against a good team in Green Bay. This is against Indianapolis. I'm going to interrupt real quick. Braden asked in chat, trade Amari and B-Rob for Monty and Neighbors. I would, Braden. You're upgrading your running back, Monty over B-Rob. And I think Neighbors and Amari are both pretty comparable. Neighbors had a bad week this week, but he'll get back to where he was before his concussion. So yeah, I would make that trade.
I fully expected to go on the opposite side of you on that one because I would have definitely take Monty and Neighbors, because even if Neighbors gets a low amount of yardage like Amari does, he'll get it with more catches than Amari does.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want Monty and Neighbors too.
Right, I know. I'm saying, but it's your guy, Brian Robinson. So
Montgomery is still an upgrade over Brian Robinson. Like, I love Brian Robinson; he's having a good season, but Montgomery is still, the Lions are still the better running team, and Montgomery is still getting more production.
You want to rate my trade? I made a trade this week.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I traded Amari Cooper and a 4th-round pick in our Keeper League draft for Monty and a 5th-round pick.
That's an incredible trade.
I got Monty.
That's unfair. Yeah, that's what I assumed. Yeah, that's almost unfair. Like,
I thought you might say that. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Monty, Titans at Lions. Lions by 10.5.
Lions.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I just, the Titans. They get rid of D-Hop, which is fine. I mean, he wasn't doing much for him anyways. I like Tony Pollard. Will Levis is not their starter anymore. Or he's hurt, but he shouldn't be their starter anyways. But, the Titans, man. I honestly don't know if they'll win a game again. Crazy. Saints at Chargers. Chargers by 7.5.
I don't understand this. I don't understand this spread. They're both bad. Chargers couldn't even score a touchdown against the Cardinals. What is the spread? At least the Saints could score. I mean, they did score at the end of that game, so they didn't. They barely scored. This is Chargers at home. Give me the Chargers at home. I'm not even looking at the spread on this one.
The funny thing is that the Saints scored, but it was their 3rd-string quarterback, Jake Honer or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But either way, it's like Spencer Rattler gets benched and then they score. And then they go the next week and they're like, we're going to keep it with Spencer Rattler. It's like, well, maybe you need to put somebody else in and give them a spark, because Rattler, as much as we like him and he's good as he looked in the preseason, he's having a rough go of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going with the Chargers too. Bills at Seahawks. Bills by 3.
I'm going to go with the Bills. They're rolling right now.
I'm curious which Seattle team shows up.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the Bills too, but the Seahawks could win this game. But I'm going to go with the Bills. You never know. Seattle's so inconsistent. I'm not going to pick them. And the game I'll be at in good old DC, Bears at Commanders, Bears by 2.5.
I'm going to take the Bears simply because Jaden Daniels might not play.
Yeah, I'm taking the
Otherwise,
Bears too
I'd take
because
the
I don't
Commanders.
believe Jaden's going to play. If Jaden played, this game would be super close. I give the nod to the Bears defense over the Commanders defense. But if Mariota plays, yeah, I don't see the Commanders winning. It would be amazing if they did. I would go absolutely nuts, and I'll be there with my dad, so I would rub it in his face. But yeah, Caleb before the bye, Caleb Williams was playing phenomenally, so I expect for him to do that again against our secondary. Panthers at Broncos by 9.5.
Broncos. I don't think they'll win by 9.5.
There's some blowouts this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Chiefs are not going to be pushed this week either.
Well, if Bryce Young does start because Andy Dalton was in a car accident,
they announced him starter today.
Yeah. Bryce Young? Yeah, I thought so. So, yeah, I'm going with the Broncos. Chiefs at Raiders. Chiefs by 9.5. We're both going Chiefs.
Yep, Chiefs.
Okay, so if it's my internet or yours, it's starting to lag a bit. Cowboys at 49ers. 49ers by 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the 49ers in this one. This one will actually be the Lions' hangover. Just because the Cowboys are terrible.
Yeah. It's funny. I could see the Cowboys winning this game coming off the bye. Ayuk's out. Debo may not play if he's still dealing with the pneumonia. But God, the Cowboys are so bad. I've got to go with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And last one, Giants at Steelers. Steelers by 6.5.
On a Monday night game, we get the Giants. Yay. I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yep, me too.
The only fun thing about this game will be watching the Manning cast and listening to Eli talk about the Giants.
That will be pretty entertaining.
So.
Well, there you go. So that leaves us only one difference. A lot of high spreads this week, which of course means there are going to be some upsets. So I'm curious to see which of these games that has like a 9, 10, 7.5, 6.5, which of these spreads actually ends up becoming an upset.
Yeah, this is going to make the Coffin Corner pick'em on Sleeper hard because I can't just go with what I went with here.
Yeah. And as far as bonus picks, where are you looking?
I'm going to take the, let's see. I'm going to take the Dolphins over the Cardinals.
Dolphins, oh, it's funny. I was looking at that one too.
Because everything else is like such a high spread, you can't even pick it because it's over 7.
I'm going to go with the Packers over the Jags. That's going to be my bonus. Hopefully I double jinx them and they end up losing. So, no, I have an interesting 1 week bonus idea that I just thought of. Pick a team that is the underdog that is for more than 7. So basically the opposite of what we do with bonus, to win. So pick which of these games do you think the underdog is going to outright win? And the spread has to be more than 7.
Already more than 7? Does that count 7?
You're going with the Patriots?
Yeah.
Oh, we can go with 7 or higher, so that works.
All right, well then there's mine.
All right, I'm gonna put dog.
Oh, dog with a W.
Dog. I'm gonna go with. It's actually pretty hard.
Right?
Well, because there aren't as many.
There's another one I'm looking right at that I would also pick.
The only one I can think of is the Panthers upsetting the Broncos by some miracle.
Mine's the Saints.
Oh, I can't trust Spencer Rattler the way he's playing.
You can't trust any of these teams.
I know.
At least the Saints have been decent this season.
Gosh. I had this idea, and then now the execution is actually a lot harder than I
It's a
thought.
lot harder to pick. The idea was good. Picking is hard.
Yeah. Because I didn't realize there aren't that many that are over. Because it's like... Which is the one I was just... Oh, like the Cowboys, but that's 4.5.
We should only do this when there are 3 teams over 7. Like 3 games to choose from. Because if it's just one game, are you going to pick a dog in this one? Well, you obviously have to pick that dog.
Yeah. Well, I just had the idea for this 1 week because there were so many big spreads.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But then as I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, this is actually kind of hard.
Well,
Hmm.
you could always go with the Giants. They've played decently. The Steelers are the Steelers. So is Russell Wilson.
It's only 6.5, though.
Oh, it is 6.5.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go with I'll pick the Panthers.
All right.
So I'm just gonna put dog next to it to signify that I'm picking the
Yeah. You're picking the
Panthers.
Broncos, but you're saying they could be. I got it.
That they could get underdog upset.
That would be interesting. Bryce Young's like, I'm back, bitches.
Yeah, I mean it's probably it's just hard because it's funny. I look at it and I'm actually like, all right, well, Colts and Texans, that's 5.5. I would pick the Colts. I'd pick the Cowboys, but over 7 is actually a lot harder than I thought. Mm-hmm. So, well, we'll see what happens. All right, so fantasy sleepers for week 7. You were 4-0, knocking it out of the park.
Damn right.
I was 2-2. I missed on Andy Dalton. Our defense absolutely ripped him to pieces. Good for them. They needed a game like that. Absolutely ripped him to pieces. Good for them. They needed a game like that. You took Drake May, who finishes QB6 against the Jags.
Let's go.
Running backs, I took Alexander Madison. He finishes RB19. You went with the returning Nick Chubb, who finishes RB26. Wide receivers, I picked Xavier Legette against the Commanders, but of course he only scored 2.9 points because they were getting shut out most of the game. You went with Bub Means, who didn't do much, but finished as wide receiver 50, which was higher than his 64th ranking, so it counts. I had tight ends. I went with Juwan Johnson, who finished tight end 31. You went with Jonnu Smith, who finished tight end 2.
Who beat him?
So,
96 yards and a touchdown. Who beat him? That's what I want to know. I thought I picked out tight end 1 this week.
I do not remember. I can go look. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm curious. It must have
David
been one
Njoku.
of the... Njoku. Oh, nice.
He had 24.6. Jonnu Smith had 22.6.
Nice. All right,
So,
well.
yeah, just a tiny bit more.
I almost picked the number 1.
You did. All right. So for the season, I'm 13-7. You are now 12-8 after that clean sweep.
After
My guarantees are 5-2. Yeah, coming back hot. So this week I am going with Caleb Williams, as I mentioned. He is somehow ranked 19th against Washington, even though he was on a tear before the bye. And despite what happened last week, our defense is still very bad. So I think he's going to have a pretty nice day and finish higher than 19th for sure. You're taking Sam Darnold, who's ranked 14th against the Rams. Another having a great season and still not getting the respect when it comes to rankings, at least. So
Well,
should have
apparently
himself a
ESPN
good
Fantasy
day.
Football believes in the hangover.
Maybe, yeah, maybe this might be a bad call for you.
Yeah, we'll see.
Running backs. I'm going with Kamani Vital. I talked about it. He's getting involved as the RB2 for the Chargers. If they do get out in a good lead in this game, they might want to arrest Dobbins and lean on him. He's ranked 50th at running back, which shouldn't be too hard to finish higher than. You've got Tyler Algier, who's ranked 39th against the Bucks. Wide
Jill's been
receivers.
having good games.
Yes, yeah, it's a good 1-2 punch with Bijan. Wide receivers, I'm going with Roma Dunze in Chicago, simply because if Caleb Williams has a good day, I think Dunze will get targeted, and he's ranked 52nd at the position. And I'm going to actually, for my guarantee this week, I'm going to call an anytime touchdown for him. You've got Ricky Pearsall, good pick, ranked 62nd versus Dallas with Ayuk out.
Like 62nd.
Yeah. It's weird because I know Jawan Jennings obviously is going to step up.
But he's questionable. So if he doesn't even play, Ricky Pearsall is the guy.
Yeah. If he doesn't play, he'll definitely be on the field a lot.
Ricky Pearsall is my other third-round pick from the Dynasty Draft.
Nice. Now you got to take him off IR.
Well, he's on the taxi squad. He can hang out.
Okay. And then tight ends, I'm going with Jatavian Sanders in Carolina. The rookie's been getting involved the last 2 weeks. He's ranked 35th at Denver. I don't know how good that's going to be if Bryce Young plays, but I mean, for 35th at tight end, he needs like one catch for 10 yards. So, and you've got Sam Laporta going with the Lion, ranked 15th versus the Titans.
Well, if you're going to put him that low against a team that we're supposed to blow out, I'm going to take him.
Yeah. I think the fear is that they just end up running the ball like crazy. But we shall see. All right, well, there we go. That is this week's podcast.
All right, well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for all the questions. We appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can find it anywhere podcasts are found. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcatcher. Any podcatcher will have it. Go look up Coffin Corner. Look for the pylon logo, and you'll know that's us. You can find us on TikTok. If you're listening to this and you've never seen the TikTok live, we answer your questions while we're doing the live Coffin Corner podcast on TikTok. You can find us on Twitter/X at Coffin Corners. And all of the replays of the VOD of the recording of the podcast can be found on youtube.com/@Coffin Corner. And that is where we are found. So until next week, Richie, you got anything else you want to say to the people?
Nope. Just good luck in fantasy this week. I'm looking forward to flying out to DC and seeing my Commanders in person.
Yeah, that'll be fun for you, for sure. All right, well, as always, I hope everybody has a great weekend and your football games go good, unless your team's playing mine. Catch you on the other side.